We thought a miracle doctor saved our daughter after a horrific car crash. Now I'm convinced she died that night and something else came home with us. It was supposed to be a fun family road trip. My husband, Donald, our 8-year-old daughter Amelia, and I were driving down Highway 16, heading to my parents' lake house for a long weekend. Amelia was chattering excitedly in the backseat about all the things she wanted to do at the lake: swimming, roasting marshmallows, looking for frogs. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and I found myself grinning as I turned to look at her. That's when it happened. I only looked away for a second, but it was enough. Donald yelled, and I whipped my head back around to see a deer frozen in our headlights. Donald swerved, the tires screeched, and suddenly we were spinning. The world became a blur of motion and sound, crunching metal, shattering glass, Amelia's scream cutting off abruptly. When everything finally stopped, the silence was deafening. I blinked, dazed, trying to make sense of what had happened. We'd gone off the road, down a small embankment. The car was on its side. Donald was groaning next to me, but moving. "Amelia?" I called out, my voice shaking. "Amelia, honey, are you okay?" There was no answer. Panic flooded through me as I struggled with my seatbelt. Donald and I managed to get free and climbed out of the wreck. The back of the car was crushed. "Oh God, no, please, no." We found Amelia crumpled in the backseat, unmoving. There was blood, so much blood. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. Her eyes were closed, her skin pale. I reached for her with trembling hands, praying to feel a pulse. Nothing, I screamed. I don't remember much after that. Donald says I was hysterical, that I kept trying to pull Amelia from the wreckage even though he told me not to move her. I vaguely recall him on the phone, calling for help, his voice breaking as he described our location. "Please," I sobbed, cradling Amelia's limp body. "Please, baby, wake up, don't leave us, please." I don't know how long we waited there on the side of that dark highway. It felt like hours. I kept talking to Amelia, begging her to open her eyes, to say something, anything. Donald paced, alternating between comforting me and swearing at how long it was taking for help to arrive. And then, like an answer to our desperate prayers, headlights appeared on the road above us. But it wasn't an ambulance or police car. It was an old, rusted pickup truck that pulled over and stopped. A man got out, peering down at us. "You folks okay?" he called. "I saw the wreck. Need some help?" Donald explained the situation, his voice raw with emotion. The stranger listened, then said, "I'm a doctor. Let me take a look at your girl." Hope flared in my chest. I watched as the man scrambled down the embankment towards us. He was older, probably in his 60s, with weathered skin and salt and pepper hair. His clothes were worn but clean. There was something about his eyes that I couldn't quite place, a sharpness, an intensity that seemed at odds with his otherwise grandfatherly appearance. He knelt beside Amelia, checking her vitals with practiced movements. I held my breath, praying for a miracle. The doctor's brow furrowed. He placed his hand on Amelia's forehead, closing his eyes as if in deep concentration. For a long moment, he was perfectly still. Then Amelia gasped. I cried out in shock and relief as her eyes fluttered open. She looked confused and disoriented, but alive. Gloriously, miraculously alive. What happened?" Amelia mumbled. I hugged her tightly, tears streaming down my face. "It's okay, baby, you're okay. We had an accident, but you're going to be fine." The doctor stood up, brushing dirt from his knees. "She needs proper medical attention," he said. "My clinic isn't far from here. I can take you there and treat her properly." Donald and I exchanged a glance. We should wait for the ambulance, for the police. But Amelia was alive when moments ago I thought we'd lost her forever. What if waiting made things worse? "Okay," Donald said. "Thank you, Dr. Marlowe," the man replied. Dr. Ezra Marlowe. We carefully moved Amelia to Dr. Marlowe's truck. I sat in the back with her, holding her close, still hardly able to believe she was really here with us. Donald sat up front with the doctor, giving him directions to go back and leave a note on our car for when the authorities arrived. As we drove, I noticed that the bleeding had stopped. In fact, I couldn't even see where Amelia had been hurt. It was as if the accident had never happened. I told myself it was just too dark to see properly, that I was still in shock. I didn't want to question the miracle we'd been given. Dr. Marlowe's clinic was a small, isolated building set back from a dirt road. It looked old but well maintained. A sign above the door read Marlowe Family Practice, serving the community since 1923. My grandfather started this clinic, Dr. Marlowe explained as he ushered us inside. We've been taking care of folks around here for generations. The interior was clean and surprisingly modern given the building's exterior. Dr. Marlowe led us to an examination room and began checking Amelia over thoroughly. To my amazement, he couldn't find any injuries beyond some minor bruising. "It's a miracle," I whispered, squeezing Donald's hand. Dr. Marlowe smiled, but there was something off about it, something that didn't quite reach his eyes. "The human body is remarkably resilient, especially in children," he said. "Still, I'd like to keep her here overnight for observation, just to be safe." Part of me wanted to take Amelia and leave right then. We should go to a real hospital, I thought, but we were in the middle of nowhere, and Amelia seemed fine. Better than fine, really. She was already sitting up, talking animatedly about how hungry she was. "Can we stay with her?" Donald asked. Dr. Marlowe nodded. "Of course. There's a small room next door where you can rest. I'll have my nurse bring in some food for all of you." The next morning, Amelia was full of energy, as if nothing had happened. Dr. Marlowe gave her one final checkup and declared her fit to go home. As we were preparing to leave, he pulled me aside. "Mrs. Harris," he said quietly, "I know last night was traumatic for all of you, but I want you to know that Amelia is going to be just fine. Better than fine, even. You'll see." There was something in his tone, a hint of, what, pride? Anticipation? I couldn't put my finger on it, but it left me feeling uneasy. "Thank you again, Dr. Marlowe," I said. "We owe you everything." He smiled that not quite right smile again. "No need for thanks. Just keep an eye on her. Children can be full of surprises." We left the clinic and made our way home. The police had recovered our car and taken statements from us over the phone. They seemed as baffled as we were by Amelia's miraculous recovery, but with no signs of foul play, there wasn't much for them to investigate. Life slowly returned to normal, or so I thought. It started small, little things that I could easily explain away. Amelia's appetite increased dramatically. She'd always been a good eater, but now she was constantly hungry. I told myself she was just going through a growth spurt. Then I noticed her eyes. They seemed different somehow, brighter, more intense. Sometimes, when the light hit them just right, I could swear they flashed with an unnatural gleam. But that was crazy, right? Just my imagination playing tricks on me after the trauma we'd been through. Amelia's behavior began to change too. She became more aggressive at school, getting into fights with other children. When I asked her about it, she just shrugged and said, "They were in my way." Her teacher called us in for a meeting, concerned about Amelia's sudden personality shift. "It's like she's a different child," Mrs. Johnson said. "She used to be so sweet and considerate. Now well, to be frank, she's becoming a bully." I defended Amelia, explaining about the accident, suggesting that she might be acting out due to trauma. But deep down, a cold fear was beginning to take root. One night, I woke to strange sounds coming from the kitchen. I crept downstairs to investigate and found Amelia standing in front of the open refrigerator, shoving handfuls of raw meat into her mouth. When she turned and saw me, her eyes glowed red in the dim light, and she snarled like a wild animal. I screamed, stumbling backward. Donald came running, and by the time we both looked again, Amelia was gone. We found her in her bed, seemingly asleep, with no trace of blood or meat around her mouth. "It was just a nightmare," Donald said, trying to comfort me. "We're all still processing what happened, but I knew what I had seen. And I knew, with a sickening certainty, that something was terribly wrong with our daughter." The incidents escalated. Neighborhood pets began to disappear. We'd find scraps of fur or feathers in Amelia's room, which she claimed were for art projects. Her strength increased to impossible levels. I once saw her lift the couch with one hand to retrieve a toy. I tried to talk to Donald about it, but he refused to see what was happening. "She's fine," he'd insist. "Better than fine. Look how strong and healthy she is. We should be grateful." But I couldn't be grateful. Not when I looked into my daughter's eyes and saw a stranger looking back at me. Not when I heard her laughing in her sleep, a low, guttural sound that made my blood run cold. I became obsessed with finding out what had really happened that night on the highway. I researched Dr. Marlowe, but found almost nothing about him online. The address where his clinic had been turned out to be nothing but an empty field when we drove by it again. Finally, desperate for answers, I reached out to a local paranormal investigator. I felt ridiculous doing it, but I was at my wit's end. The investigator, a middle-aged woman named Sandra, listened to my story without judgment. "I've heard whispers of things like this before," she said gravely. "There are entities that feed on desperation and grief. They offer miracles, but always at a price." "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Sandra leaned forward, her eyes intense. "I'm saying that the thing wearing your daughter's face isn't your daughter anymore. Amelia died in that car crash, Mrs. Harris. Whatever came back with you, it's not her." I broke down then, sobbing uncontrollably. Deep down, I think I'd known the truth for a while. I just hadn't been able to face it. "What do I do?" I choked out between sobs. Sandra's face was grim. "There are rituals, exorcisms, but they're dangerous. And there's no guarantee they'll work. Sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is to release them." I knew what she meant. The thought made me sick, but as I sat there, I could hear Amelia, no, the thing that used to be Amelia, moving around upstairs, humming a discordant tune that set my teeth on edge. What have we done? What have I allowed into our home, into our lives? I'm writing this now as a warning, to beg anyone reading this to be careful what you wish for in your darkest moments. Miracles can happen, yes, but some miracles come with a cost too terrible to bear. Tonight, I have to make a choice. To try to save what's left of my daughter, or to protect the world from what she's become. I don't know if I have the strength to do what needs to be done, but I know I can't let this go on. If you're reading this, and you find yourself on a dark highway someday, desperate for help, be careful who you trust. Some roads, once taken, can never be untraveled, and some prices are too high, even for a miracle. Pray for me, pray for Amelia, and whatever you do, don't make the same mistake I did, because not all miracles are blessings. Some are curses in disguise.